There's been a lot of talk about AI's threat to SaaS companies and how really it's undermined the underpinnings of all SaaS. Does Clay fall into that category? Why or why not?
This is a good, and it's funny. I actually might talk about this before I'm talking to the company about it because I'm writing something about this, but I'll give you the broad outlines. I think like the way that I'm thinking about it is you've always had a build versus buy question, right? And you also have free open source software that you could have just used. It's there. So, um, is all, or actually maybe you can start off by saying, is all software going to be built? And if the answer is yes, then that's one possibility. I don't think that's the case. And we can discuss why, but let's say that the answer is no. If the answer is no, then is your kind of software particularly susceptible to disruption by build? So on one end of that, you might say Stripe is not, right? Because there's risk, there's compliance. You're not going to go do all of that stuff. On the other end, maybe it's kind of like a scheduling calendar app, right? In which case, maybe you can vibe code that. Maybe it doesn't improve with network effects. There's nothing really that is specific about it being hosted that makes it better. And so you want to be on the other side where it's not kind of disruptable in this way. And then the other way to think about it that might be helpful, let's talk about the technology as it is right now without kind of like fast forwarding into what if it's 10x better? It's probably going to get 10x cheaper, but you'll have to hire an engineer to actually build anything of reasonable sophistication. And maybe they're much faster now, but you're still paying them, let's say 200K to build a software product over time that you could buy maybe for less that the easiest question is like, do you want to wake up at 3 a.m. and maintain that software? And how long is it going to take to build? So the only reason to build would be if you have very specific needs that are not found in the market or not customizable. So I do think it changes. I think the most likely scenario is there will be way more things being built that were not worth being built. And then there's going to be a bunch of stuff that was being built that is commoditized and no longer really worth kind of doing, and you can probably have an internal version pretty quick. I don't think we fall into that category for a couple of reasons. One is that we have all these deals with a bunch of different data providers, so you can get that data. So we have to go out and do all of that. And then what Clay owns long term really is who are your best customers and how do we find more like them? And if we know how that's happening across the market and how you found historically your best customers and what predicts that, that's hard and unnecessary for you to rebuild.